Fox Sports.
We are Blackmore. We are Florida.
Last night in the Magic City.
Wow, how about field? And gone! Wow! Upper porch, Derek Dietrich. Breaking ball, fly ball, left field. That's deep to the wall. Gone! He's back! Two-run shot and a 5-4 lead.
In the Magic City tonight, despite some clouds and a little bit of rain, we've got baseball tonight. Final game of a three-game set. The Marlins trying to win the series. Marlins have a winning record in the month of June right now. Derek Dietrich, Giancarlo Stanton, the heroes last night. Kevin SLOWEY coming in from the bullpen, ready to go. Hi, everyone. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. You saw the big home runs last night. The celebration was something for a young team that hasn't had many of those moments, Tommy Hutton. It was special.
You know, it was special. It was good to see the big guy back. Giancarlo Stanton, who led the National League in slugging percentage last year, hit home run number 97 in his career. He has a way of the dramatic. He has a way of ending a game or hitting a game-winning home run. This one in the 8th inning. Wasn't sure it was going to get out, but then his go a little bit further than everybody else's. So Giancarlo with the big blast last night. And there you see, 7th inning on, last 3 years. Boy, it's nice to have him in the lineup.
It is nice to have him in the lineup. Now, back into the rotation is Kevin SLOWEY. Now, he was out of the rotation not for anything he did wrong, but for something he did right. Very right. And that was Saturday coming out of the bullpen in that 20-inning marathon, and he's the reason the Marlins hung around to win that game.
Absolutely right. 7 innings, gave up no runs, struck out 8, threw 94 pitches out of the bullpen to win his 41st game. That's the first game he's ever won as a relief pitcher. So he's back in the rotation. He goes tonight. We'll see how far he goes. A well-rested bullpen and an off day tomorrow.
And a pitching matchup, SLOWEY in our Coventry Healthcare matchup, going against Alfredo Figueroa. What do we know about him?
Well, we know one thing. He throws 95, 98 miles an hour. Good fastball.
And his name's fun to say as well. Figueroa going against SLOWEY. Fish and Brewers. We're going around the cage. Tino Martinez all mic'd up when we return. do. Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine.
Thanks, Rich. A little batting cage talk tonight. We're going to get to Tino Martinez mic'd up in a moment. But the talk around the cage isn't, hey, what'd you have for dinner or where are you going after the game? It's pretty sharp and on the money a lot of times.
Well, Tino's very hands-on. He's trying to give these guys some suggestions of what happened the night before or what's happened in the cage that day to project them that night in the game. And he did a great job of that yesterday being mic'd up. We'll hear a little bit of that right now.
Yes, he did.
The round's good though, man. So every time that you just got too far up front, you hook it, and let the ball get to you. You flip down, you stay at right center, you're perfect. You get backspin on the balls that way.
Little tip for Lomo.
Yeah, a little tip for Lomo, and he knows by watching tape what Lomo's sweet zone is, and that's it right there, left center field. He did it perfectly last night, twice.
That works.
You have to stay short and compact, man, like you always do. You're short and compact, you're aggressive, you're good.
Short and compact for Derek Dietrich.
It doesn't get any more short or compact than this swing right here, and basically put a crack in the back of a seat out there in the home run porch. Awesome swing by Derek Dietrich.
Remember 0-0, look for a zone. Not just any pitch. Not just any pitch, just certain zone, drive.
And that's what he did. He had Ed Lucas, said, hey, let's come inside, pull it, maybe a bunt hit. All those little tips he throws out during the game, almost personalized for each guy, which is what coaches do. They work individually here.
Well, you don't realize. I mean, Tino Martinez played on the biggest stage in the world for the greatest team in the world for a long time, and I think the years that he played, 2000 or 1996-2000, I thought those were the greatest teams I ever played against. Those Yankee teams.
Yankee teams won a couple of three out of four championships. Came back that one year from down 2-0 and beat the Braves. That was in '96. All right, series finale. Of course, time to mention his team beat the Yankees in 1990.
Are you ready for this? Pinch a Penny brings you the first pitch. Kevin Slowey ready to go. NORICHIKA AOKI for the Milwaukee Brewers with Gene Segura and Carlos Gomez right around the bend. And here we go with a fastball from Slowey that cuts to the inside corner for a strike. So says Lance Barksdale, who's working home plate.
SLOWEY at 29, making start number 13. That would be shuffling the feet of AOKI.
The second time this series we've seen AOKI dance out of the way of a pitch in that same area. There are the numbers on Kevin SLOWEY. Remember, 94 pitches in that 7 innings of relief. Saturday's 20-inning win. What a remarkable game.
AOKI has been hit 7 times this year. We saw him hit earlier on the elbow. He's got that elbow protector. He is on top of the plate, and he'll climb back in with a count at 1 ball and 1 strike. Marlins winners last night 5-4. Brewers captured game 1, and AOKI slams one into right field. That's the sweetest revenge for a hitter for sure. And AOKI a threat to run as he opens things with a single. It's a Brewers lineup that without Ryan Braun, without Corey Hart, still can score runs. AOKI leads it off. Gene Segura leading the National League in hits as an 8-game hit streak. Carlos Gomez is having a breakout season. Aramis Ramirez hits cleanup. Jonathan Lucroy, very solid at the plate and behind it. Logan SCHAFER out in left field. He's got a hot bat. Juan Francisco gets a start at first. Scooter Gennett, the pride of Sarasota, is at second. And Alfredo Figaro hits ninth. That would be a strike to Segura, who is a bundle of speed, power, and defense. He is a terrific young player.
He's a bundle of base hits. He leads the National League in hits.
That's right. I mean, Doug Melvin called AT&T and said, I want to bundle Gene Segura. He's just 23. And he lines it foul, and he arrived to the Brewers in the Zach Greinke trade from the Angels. The Angels making a stretch run. They wanted Greinke. Greinke didn't stick around long, but Segura was a piece that the Brewers received. And he is having an incredible year this year.
And he's been a lot less controversial than Zach Greinke, too.
Greinke on the receiving end of a beanball last night in that ugly Dodger Diamondback game. Segura punches it in the air to right. Stanton back. And Giancarlo makes the catch. So SLOWEY has an out. Here's the Marlins defensively tonight. Cleveland Clinic, Florida.
And we talked about the defense. Gradually, it's just getting better and better each week with JP, Ozuna, and Stanton in the outfield. Ed Lucas once again starting at third base. Echeverria, Dietrich up the middle. Greg Dobbs with the start tonight. Been a while since he started a game, and Logan Morrison, will see him periodically get a night off. Rob Brantley behind the plate.
Carlos Gomez stands in. Gomez, the Brewers center fielder. Now Gomez has always been a, we're going to use the word, bundle of promise, of talent, and a couple teams have waited for him to blossom. The Mets, the Twins, and the Brewers, and now it looks like he's done it. He's taken a huge step forward this year. And he lines that one over the head of Echeverria into center field. Ozuna picks it up. Stopping at second is AOKI. And the Brewers, as they are wont to do, knocking the ball around the park right now. Runners first and second.
You know, Rich, every once in a while as Gomez hits that breaking ball, you get a guy like him. He's been with a couple of organizations. There are a few things that usually fall into place. Number one, he hasn't gotten better because he hasn't worked at it. I'm sure he has. Sometimes the environment, sometimes being around the team that he is right now helps everything fall into place. But yeah, he's having a career year.
And he's 27. He was in the big leagues very early, and now at 27, and I think as well, getting a somewhat of a long-term deal, a multiple-year contract, has taken some of the pressure off of him. Here's Ramirez now. And Aramis Ramirez takes a fastball for a strike. Ramirez, a long-time run producer in the major leagues, and a guy that has run up a ton of numbers in his career, from RBIs to home runs to hits. He's 7 shy of 2,000 hits. That hit him. SLOWEY comes inside and gets Ramirez. And so now the bags are loaded, and the Brewers really have something going.
Yeah, that ball just clipped him right now. SLOWEY doesn't quite have the command that we have seen him have. We saw him have all April and certainly in that game in New York.
I guess the question for Chuck Hernandez and for anybody watching tonight's game, what effect will SLOWEY's relief appearance, which was essentially a start, have on his start tonight? The obvious one is he's on short days rest.
He's on the same type rest that years ago on a 4-man rotation guys would have a 3-day rest.
He was brilliant in New York, pitching the 13th through the 19th innings in that 2-1 win against the Mets. Here's Lucroy, a good hitting catcher, and SLOWEY misses outside. Lucroy had a great start last year and then got hurt, missed 2 months with a fractured hand. But any catcher who slugs .513 is a valuable guy, and Lucroy takes a fastball for a strike, and that's what he did last year. This year, he's having a very nice offensive season as well, though the slugging percentage is down at .420. 6 homers, 6 doubles, 3 triples. You can't be a Brewer if you don't have 3 or 4 triples.
They won't let you in the lineup. They lead the league in triples.
Counts 1-1, and Lucroy steps out of the box.
Well, you know, the organization, the Brewers, feel the same way about Lucroy as they do about Gomez. He's locked into a contract through 2016.
4 hits in the series for Lucroy. SLOWEY with the bags loaded and 1 out. Breaking ball, line drive into right center. That's trouble. Remember, Stanton's got the hamstring issue, and it goes all the way to the warning track. That will score 3. And guess what? Lucroy has a triple. And it's 3-0 Milwaukee.
Well, you talk about some sweet hitting. This is a breaking ball. Not real sharp out over the plate. Lucroy doesn't try to pull it. He just flips it into that gap in right center field. By getting it in the gap, he ends up at third. The Brewers get 3 runs and have a good shot for another one. The Marlins infield will probably come in here with 1 out.
Logan SCHAFER now, the left fielder for the Brewers. Lucroy's 90 feet away, and SCHAFER takes a strike. SCHAFER getting time in left. Ryan Braun is still out. So far, they've been able to buy him 3 off days. There's a day off tomorrow as the Brewers continue on their road trip. And if his thumb isn't better in the next couple of days, Milwaukee is thinking about putting him on the disabled list. Soft pop, shallow left. Echeverria back to the infield, makes the catch, and Lucroy holds third.
Boy, great job by Echeverria, and a lot tougher catch because he was playing in. If he's playing normal position, he doesn't have that far to go. But a long way to go because he was playing in, over the shoulder grab, and because he caught it, Lucroy couldn't tag up. Good job.
Now SLOWEY has to deal with Juan Francisco. Francisco has yet to homer as a Brewer, but the Marlins know good and well that he's got big power. He had 5 home runs in 35 games with the Braves. And he made a bunch of starts, 35 games with the Braves, 31 starts. The 2 home runs he's hit, one was into the home run porch in right field, the other was off the facing of the upper deck and straightaway center, one of the longest home runs hit in the ballpark.
Yeah, off to a slow start as a Brewer, just 1 for 19. Well, he was getting some playing time with the Braves with Freeman on the disabled list, playing some third base as they were trying to shuffle around, and Freddie Gonzalez was trying to decide who would follow Chipper at third.
That Wellmax Medical Center sign is the one that he hit off of Alex Sanabia. Counts 3-0. Scooter Gennett is on deck. And Milwaukee has jumped on Kevin SLOWEY right away. And Francisco, green light, lines it foul.
Kevin Slowey, in his career, 102 starts, just 11 games. The game in New York is the 11th game pitching out of the bullpen.
So he goes 7 scoreless innings in that 6.5-hour game in the course of about 10 minutes, and a third of an inning. He's touched for 3 runs here. And now he's got 2 strikes, full count on Juan Francisco. And he swings and misses at a high fastball. Slowey strikes him out. When we get back, Derek Dietrich will present Miami's lineup. You don't want to miss it. And we brought the rookie in to see how he would do, and Derek Dietrich actually killed it. Here he is.
Hi, I'm Derek Dietrich of your Miami Marlins, and here's tonight's starting lineup. Batting in the leadoff spot, we got JP playing left field. Batting second, we've got Sweet Lou playing third base. In the 3-hole, Bigfoot, Giancarlo Stanton playing right field. Batting fourth, cleanup, Mr. T, Marcelo Zuna playing right field. Oh, center field tonight. Sorry, switch positions. Batting fifth, yours truly, Derek Dietrich playing second base. Greg Dauber will be playing first base. Adeni Hechevarria, shortstop, batting seventh. Rob Brantley's doing the catching tonight. My man, Brant, and Kevin Slowey, Mr. Gentle Dude, is going to be on the mound for your Miami Marlins.
He's moved up.
Oh, that was first take by Dietrich. That's your Georgia Tech education in action right there.
You know, there's a reason. I think he put a little pressure on himself because Burke Badenhop's in the house.
That's right. That's a good point. One of the all-time great mic'd up lineup promo guys.
So great job. There's a look at Alfredo Figueroa, a right-hander who's just making his third start. They've been using him out of the bullpen 16 times out of the bullpen. He can get it up to 98, 99 miles an hour. But as a starter, he'll kind of lull around 93, 94.
Juan Pierre, Ed Lucas, Giancarlo Stanton. Pierre, little bunt, trying to get it by the third baseman Ramirez, who makes a nifty play and a sideways throw to get the out. Defense tonight brought to you by Cleveland Clinic, Florida.
There it is with Logan Schafer, Carlos Gomez, Nori Aoki in the outfield, Ramirez, Segura, Jeanette, and Francisco around the infield. Lucroy behind the plate all 3 games. Yeah, the object of that bunt for Juan Pierre, if he gets the third baseman in far enough, he can push it by him, and if he gets it by him, the shortstop can't make a play.
Here's Lucas now, 0 for 6 in this series. The bad news for Miami, 3 first-inning runs, and Kevin Slowey didn't look sharp. The good news, the Brewers have had awful starting pitching this year. Their bullpen, Milwaukee's bullpen, very good this year. Figueroa making just his 3rd start. He spent a good deal of time in that bullpen. And in 39 innings, he's given up 9 home runs.
Yeah, non-drafted, signed by the Dodgers back in 2004 as a youngster out of the Dominican.
2-0 pitch. Lucas, a liner into center field, and Ed Lucas has himself a hit. And he'll hold at first base, and that brings up the big bat of Giancarlo Stanton.
A lot of changes over the years. I talked to Ed about the development of his hitting over the last 10 years. And they said a lot of things he's worked on, approach, stance, had a lot of different hitting coaches. Tommy Gregg, remember Tommy Gregg, yes. Left-handed hitter? He said a guy he really connected with for 3 or 4 years in the minor leagues.
And there's probably a lot of Tommy Greggs and other guys that helped Ed Lucas that are thrilled with him getting to the big leagues and the success that he's had, being able to share in that. Here's Stanton now. And Giancarlo Stanton, the big home run last night against a guy that doesn't give up home runs easily, Jim Henderson. His first blown save, and the Marlins won the ball game 5-4. It was a 2-run shot. It was the 8th inning.
That was the first home run all year that Henderson had allowed.
Stanton quickly behind the count, 0-2. You can see that Figueroa, though, has made 2 terrific pitches on the black on either side of the plate.
He was talking about sliders that he saw last night. Figueroa has given him a couple of good fastballs here.
Stanton wasn't going to let another fastball get by. He does throw hard, as you pointed out, 95 miles an hour.
Funny how you come up in an organization when he signed that 1 year with the Dodgers, just 1 year, and they released him after that first season.
And he ended up signing with the Tigers, and he was in the Tigers organization for 6 years and got to the big leagues in 2009 and 2010. Spent his last 2 seasons in Japan, the Oryx Blue Wave. Stanton, a liner, right center field. Gomez over, and he's there, and he makes the catch. Carlos Gomez is a very good defensive center fielder, and he covers a lot of ground.
Giancarlo didn't get that one on the screws, and it started to slice away from Gomez. So when you're an outfielder and you have a powerful hitter up there like Stanton, you kind of hold your ground because you usually think everything's going to go over your head. But a good recovery by Gomez to make that play.
Lucas still at first, and here is Ozuna.
Just thinking about you mentioning that Figueroa pitched in Japan a couple of years. Some guys go over there as pitchers and they're never heard from again. And then there are guys like a Ryan Vogelsong who's come back and has had a lot of success.
And for some players, going to Japan can extend a career. Andrew Jones is over there this year. Vicente Padilla is over there this year. For others, guys that, you know, got to the big leagues but can make more money over there. Brian LaHair is over there this year.
Matt Merton has had a terrific career over there the last few years. I believe Merton last year, 2 years ago, set a Japanese record of hits in a season. Had well over 200 hits, and they play fewer games.
They play 144, I believe. 1-1. 2-1. Figueroa is not a big guy, though he does throw hard. 6 feet tall, 175 pounds. In the air, Jeanette makes the catch. And the Marlins are done in the first. Milwaukee has jumped to a 3-0 lead. Milwaukee on top of the Marlins. Scooter Gennett, Alfredo Figaro, NORICHIKA, AOKI. And Gennett goes after the first pitch, pops it into left. Pierre makes the catch, 1 pitch, 1 out. All right, in today's game, once again, we're participating in the home run challenge. Every home run in this game raises $12,000 for prostate cancer research. You can make a pledge by going online to homerunchallenge.org. Giancarlo Stanton and Derek Dietrich last night raising $20,000. Last night it was worth $10,000. Tonight, $12,000.
So some bigger iron tonight.
Yes, in X speak, without a doubt. Or as Dan Le Batard would say, straight cash, homie.
Straight cash. What would his dad say, though?
I don't know, but it would be funny.
It would be funny.
It would be funny. Figaro is up there. Aoki next to follow. Slowey, and it would figure that Slowey, a guy dating back to 2010, who is absolute last in all of Major League Baseball in run support. When he comes out of the bullpen to make a relief appearance, little dribbler down the third base line, and again, that Dartmouth education coming into play. Lucas measuring the angle and the spin ratio and decides it's going foul.
Well, the other thing you measure is, okay, if I pick it up here, I'm not going to throw him out either. So that's the only hope you have, is that it goes foul.
He had an even tougher one last night that went foul.
So you measure all that, you realize you're not going to throw him out if you catch it about that point. So the best play is to let it go.
Here's the 0-2. Swing and a miss. Figaro goes down. The Cardinals are coming. The Cardinals are coming on Friday night. Fireworks Friday. Get the Sir Pizza 4-pack, including 4 tickets, 4 personal Sir Pizzas, 4 Pepsi soft drinks for just $60. Stay after for a fireworks spectacular presented by Subway Restaurants. Go to marlins.com. Look at Ozzie Smith and Bruce Sutter in the bobblehead museum.
A couple of Hall of Fame Cardinals.
Here is Aoki, who singled back in the first. So Slowey doesn't get any runs when he starts, and he didn't get any runs when he relieved. Although, at the very end, he got 1 in 7 innings. And that was enough to pick up his second win.
That's all he needed.
A rough first inning. Jonathan Lucroy's 3-run triple, the big hit.
But you have two guys in Kevin Slowey and Ricky Nolasco. Ricky 3-7 on the year, but an ERA of 3.80. Kevin Slowey came into this game with an ERA of 3.77.
Oh-2. At the letters. Aoki didn't like it. He's the toughest man in baseball to strike out, and he has punched out twice in the last 2 nights. Much better second for Slowey than the first. H.H. Gray. In Miami, behind the plate is Lance Barksdale. Now that last pitch to NORICHIKA AOKI. Barksdale called it strike 3. Ron Renicky from the Brewers bench thought it was high. So did AOKI. So you can hear the argument. Barksdale saying that he ducked and that it would be called a strike if he ducked again. Renicky pleading his case.
Yeah, Barksdale saying when he ducks, it's not high.
Now on Fox Tracks, it was cleared we were unable to show it to you, but the pitch did register just above the letters. But as an umpire, when a guy does crouch over and duck down, that certainly can be a bit disconcerting, I would think. Derek Dietrich, Greg Dobbs, Adani, and Chavarria.
And I thought handled well the little tete-a-tete with Barksdale and Renicky.
I think as a manager or a player, you appreciate an umpire that you can talk to and have, whether it's a discussion, a heated discussion, but any type of discussion, just some sort of dialogue.
Haven't seen too many breaking pitches from Figueroa. That was one.
I think anytime you see a Dominican right-hander who is 6 feet tall, you think about a guy that has a devastating changeup because of the, you go back to the, I guess what, Jose Rijo?
Yeah, and then you
Pedro Martinez.
Rijo a little bigger than Martinez, but yeah, that's what you think of. Mario Soto.
Johnny Cueto. Yeah, Soto was wasn't he the first of that generation?
Yeah, he had a tremendous changeup.
Edinson Volquez. A whole generation of pitchers in the Dominican grew up trying to master that pitch because of the success that Pedro Martinez had. Here's the 2-2 to Dietrich. There's the breaking ball.
Boy, the one thing that you and I have both heard from Tino Martinez about Dietrich, about Ozuna, young players, they're certainly willing to listen. That's no question there, and they also are able to apply what they hear.
Fastball dialed it up to 96. And the first strikeout for Alfredo Figaro.
Let's check out the scouting report. It's actually his 10th year as a professional. We mentioned he signed early as a youngster with the Dodgers. Needs to get a little better command of his fastball. And how about his cousin, Fernando Rodney? He's got a pretty good changeup.
I'm not sure that Figaro has the bow and arrow act down yet. Marlins saw plenty of Fernando Rodney in the 4 games.
Every game.
Every game. In the 4-game set against the Rays. Here's Dobbs now. It's been a while since Dobbs has been in the lineup, and there have been a couple of guys that have played first base. First, it was Casey Kochman, who came off the disabled list. Then it was Logan Morrison, who joined the club, and then Kochman went on the disabled list. Dobbs takes a breaking ball in, and it's 2-0. Logan Morrison, by the way, just getting the night off. Mike Redmond with both Morrison and Giancarlo Stanton will spot them a day off here or there in their first 2-3 weeks. Coming back, obviously for Morrison, a much longer layoff and a much more arduous rehab process than Stanton.
And he played some consecutive days in the minor leagues before he joined the ball club in New York. So with tonight and then tomorrow being an off day, he'll get a couple of days.
Jonathan Lucroy out to talk to Figaro about the AT&T Uverse Twitter poll. There it is. Should post-game pies and water drenches be discouraged? Yes. Hashtag have no fun. No. Hashtag have fun. Maybe you should ask Chris Coughlin that. Now here's last night.
Your second.
Morrison, it's got to be the worst disguised water dump ever. He was obviously targeting our Allison Williams.
I think it was. It shows the instincts that Allison has, the quick reactions to just get doused a little bit.
That's right. There could have been a lot more damage. Dobbs pulls a ground ball to first. Francisco steps on the bag. Of course, the Marlins involved in one of the more unfortunate celebratory moments when Chris Coughlin tore a meniscus but actually pieing Wes Helms. I think if Cogs were to vote in that poll, he would vote, let's discourage it. I think if Allison were to vote in that poll, let's discourage it.
I would say most on-field interviewers would vote that way.
Well, I remember Kendrys Morales fractured his leg celebrating I believe it was a walk-off grand slam.
Yeah, high leap at the plate, jumped down on the plate into the scrum.
He missed almost 2 seasons.
Yeah. Broke his ankle.
Little tapper, Ramirez comes in, and on the run, he throws out Echeverria. Alfredo Figaro looks pretty good tonight. Corners brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places by AT&T Uverse. Check availability at 1-800-PICK-AT&T. Rethink possible by Just for Men Auto Stop, the foolproof way to get rid of gray, and by Checkers. Feast on. Kevin Slowey now, second time through for the Brewers, and the first time they did some damage. There's a liner to the left. That'll do some damage. Pierre goes back. It's deep, and it's into the Clevelander. Gene Segura with his 10th home run already this season. A bust-out year for a guy that's going to be in New York representing the National League in the All-Star game.
Boy, that also extends his hitting streak, Rich, to 9 games, his 87th hit. The only 2 hitters with a higher batting average. There's a hanging slider from Slowey. Only 2 hitters with higher batting average than Segura, Troy Tulowitzki and Yadier Molina. But he crushed that ball right into the Clevelander.
For Slowey, it's the 12th home run that he's given up this year. And this is inning number 76. Well, the Angels certainly have the resources and the wherewithal to go for it, so to speak, when they went out to get Greinke. But there's got to be a few in Anaheim who pick up the paper every morning and see that Gene Segura has a couple more hits and is playing terrific defense. Gomez with that hit. Now that off the bat, 98.4 miles per hour.
So it's kind of a good measure of how quick that ball gets off the bat.
The fastest ball ever recorded off the bat was the home run that Giancarlo Stanton hit off of Jamie Moyer in this ballpark. And I'm talking about in the major leagues since they've been measuring it, which Crack staff helped me out here is 6-7 years since Hit Tracker Online has been doing it. And I, off the top of my head, want to say 121 miles per hour was the Stanton blast off of Moyer. Here is ARAMIS Ramirez, hit by a pitch back in the first.
You know, Gomez 2 for 2 off Slowey. They were teammates with the Minnesota Twins. And probably Slowey's best game ever, a complete game shutout, a 3-hit shutout in 2008. It was against the Milwaukee Brewers. And Gomez had a big hit in that game that drove in a run.
Ramirez. Boy, Kevin Slowey does not have it tonight. The Brewers are getting good swings. They're barreling balls up. It's 4-0 right now. And Chuck Hernandez seeing the same things that we're seeing. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins.
You don't see the spotting of the fastball. The control is not quite there. And you don't see the crisp breaking ball. And because of that, the Brewers are having good swings. Plus, they're a good hitting ball club.
.122.4, 122 miles an hour, plus the .4. That was the official time off the bat. That speed, which sent that ball up and nearly went right through the scoreboard.
It shattered a couple of lights up in that scoreboard, too.
Lucroy had the big hit back in the first, another triple, his 4th of the season. They drove in 3. Runners go. The throw is behind and out at second base. A heads-up play by Rob Brantley to throw out the trail runner, ARAMIS Ramirez. Gomez ends up at third base.
Yeah, that is a heads-up play, and you have to be aware of that before it even happens, and Brantley was. You know the speed is the runner at second. You also saw the jump that Gomez got. The runner at first usually doesn't get as good a jump because he's watching the runner ahead of him. Plus, Ramirez doesn't have the same kind of speed as Gomez. So, heads-up play, a good decision by Rob Brantley.
Infield in. And Lucroy swings and misses and strikes out. And so SLOWEY gets the second out of the inning. Logan SCHAFER comes to the plate. You know, for all the struggles that the Marlins have had, and there have been many in a variety of departments, one of those struggles has not been catchers throwing out base stealers. Brantley has caught 10 of 28, which is close to 35%. Jeff Mathis has thrown out 7 of 11. That's 64%. SCHAFER popped out back in the first. Ball on the strike. Edgar Olmos, which is an indication that for the Marlins, it will be, if SLOWEY does exit early, it'll be a piece it together night.
Which in the back of his mind, Mike Redmond had mapped out because he knew that even if SLOWEY was sharp, the most he'd get would be 4, maybe 5 innings. That's why he was pleased with the 7 innings that he got from Jacob Turner last night.
One, two. It's in. 2-2. Milwaukee has already banged out 4 runs on 6 hits. A home run by Gene Segura. 3-run triple by Jonathan Lucroy are the biggest of the hits. As SLOWEY at the knees strikes out SCHAFER. Gene Segura continues to impress. His 10th homer of the season. And the Brewers shortstop having an all-star season makes it 4-0. But don't despair. The Cardinals will be here, and they're fun to watch. Heck, they're, many people feel, the best team in baseball right now. And on Saturday, please note the game time is at 4:10. All-you-can-eat seats for $27. Enjoy unlimited KM beef franks, peanuts, popcorn, nachos, Pepsis, and water. All part of Faith and Family Day. There's a roller out to second. Jeanette flips to first. It's presented by Metro Ford, the Faith and Family Day live concert on the West Plaza after the game. Go to marlins.com. Rob Brantley out. Here's Kevin Slowey now. Slowey to be followed by Juan Pierre. On paper, Alfredo Figueroa coming in here, Tommy, with not a lot of experience this year as a starter. The Brewers haven't had a lot of success in terms of starting pitching this year. But so far, Figueroa has been dynamite, and Kevin Slowey has been knocked around.
Well, the Brewers expecting a couple of guys, a couple of starters especially, to come off the disabled list. Chris Narveson being one. Marco Estrada the other. So Renicky will be able to, if he wants, keep Figueroa in the rotation or get that 98-mile-an-hour heater down in the bullpen.
Well, the bullpen pretty well stocked right now. If Figueroa throws like this Friday night, it's a great matchup. You got the veteran Jake Westbrook and Jose Fernandez. Cardinals Marlins. Our wishes for a speedy recovery to Cameron Maybin, who is going to be out 6 to 10 weeks with a torn PCL.
And by the way, speaking of recoveries, Jack McKeon is back home recovering from his bypass surgery. I'm told doing well and watching about 5 games a day. So he's doing okay.
Breaking ball from Figueroa misses inside. Pierre trying to bunt for a hit was out in the first inning. Pierre, a nice 8-game hit streak, and an 8-game hit streak with some substance behind it. Slaps that one to short. Segura on the run, and he's made another nice play. 9-pitch inning for Alfredo Figueroa.
top of the 4th inning. You know, Perry Hill, the Marlins infield guru, has a very special way, especially for the middle infielders, of figuring out where they're on the field and then adjusting with the hitter. For both the second baseman and the shortstop, he has 2 PVC pipes that are behind them in the ground, but at least it's a reference point for the second baseman for, let's say, a pull left-hand hitter or a guy who will hit more to his right to start. After that, there are adjustments made based on however the player hits. Now, for the first baseman, of course, you can't put something in front of him because normally he's close and the ball can take a bad hop. So what's the reference point for the first baseman? Well, what the Marlins have come up with, we'll show you after this pitch, an easy out for the fish, is the red seat. The red seat was the first one ever installed here in February of 2011. It's right here. It actually lines up perfectly with the first baseman when he's at a normal depth position for a left-handed hitter. So what happened is the first baseman gets in this location, and if Perry Hill wants him to move over a step this way, he'll give him a little signal either left or right, and that is based all on the setup with the red seat. Now, Perry will also say if the guys lose their track, the middle guys, they'll wiggle their glove a little bit. Nobody will notice this, but that means, hey, coach, help me out, and Perry will realign him and get him in the right position. These little things go on during the game, and a lot of times they're in the right spot to make the play.
Hey, Craig, what if someone is sitting in the red seat?
You know what? It just happened because this gentleman was sitting here. I guess at this point now they've lined up. It is the last row of this section. And so I'm assuming that's a good question, Tommy, that he can line it up because it is the final seat. And you kind of can have a general idea where you are.
Well, if somebody sits in the seat, just give them a red jacket.
At least a red jacket or a red hat or something.
Now, as I remember, here's Scooter Gennett, who pokes it into left field. And the Sarasota High School product has himself a base hit. Craig talked about the little pipe that Perry pounds into the ground. There's the red seat. On the road, visiting ballparks don't take too kindly to visiting infield instructors pounding stuff into the ground. So I believe in most ballparks, Perry's able to go out with a spray can of paint and spray little dots where they usually are. That one is kicked. Lucas recovers and then throws it down the right field line, and the ball goes all the way down into the corner. Rob Brantley right now having a discussion with the home plate umpire, and here comes Mike Redmond as well. I think Brantley may be arguing that the hitter interfered with him getting to the ball.
What Brett is trying to argue, he can't come out here.
Here's a look.
See, where he was pointing, that's where the hitter was. He was near that dirt cutout, almost where the grass was, the pitcher.
Now, did the runner go out there to get out of the way of Brantley, or did he go out there because he went out there?
Hard to tell. Here's the other thing. In hindsight, and it's so easy to go in hindsight up here, Ed Lucas would have had a play at second. He had no momentum going that way, but keep in mind the runner at first had to hold up because he thought it was a pop fly bunt. He thought he was going to be out.
Well, Brantley certainly
but then the ball kicked off Lucas's foot. That's a tough play.
Brantley certainly made contact with the batter. And so the Brewers now end up with runners at second and at third and one out. And now Slowey has to face Aoki, who fouls it back to the screen. So a single by Gennett. Scoring on that play just a straight E5, or does he get a sacrifice E5?
We're waiting on the scoring.
That's a tough one to score.
That's first error that Ed Lucas has been charged with.
Aoki with a fly ball to left, and that's deep enough to score the run. Tagging is Gennett. Pierre makes the catch, and the Brewers add on. It's 5-0.
For some reason, I have the feeling that those type of at-bats are taught and practiced a whole lot more in Japan than they are over here. Man at third, less than 2 out. Just get a fly ball out there.
Now, Aoki, a very accomplished career in Japan. His second year in Milwaukee. And here's Segura again, who homered his last at bat. He takes in. Aoki is 31, and after 8 years with the Swallows of Yakult. The Japanese baseball teams, their names are obviously you've got the mascot, but at the same time you've got a corporation that owns the team that generally has a name in there, which can be confusing. I always thought when it was the Nippon Ham Fighters, I thought they were the Ham Fighters.
I did too until I read an article about the company, Nippon Ham.
Right. I always wondered, what's a ham fighter? They're the Nippon Ham Fighters. It's going to be a base hit and an E5. And a long fly ball to center. Ozuna back, warning track, and he makes the catch at the wall. Marcell Ozuna showing those center field skills, but the Brewers tack on another. Is the end, now playing in theaters. By Honda. Visit your Honda dealer for great lease and finance deals on fuel-efficient Hondas. Miami skyline as night falls, and a tough night so far for Kevin Slowey. Short day's rest coming off the relief on Saturday's 20-inning, 6.5-hour marathon in New York. Alfredo Figueroa looks like he's been in the rotation all year and has been throwing gas. The right-hander out of the Dominican Republic has been outstanding. South Florida Honda dealers bring you Marlins Live. And on Friday night, before the Cardinals and the Marlins tangle, Craig Minervini and Cliff Floyd. And in the booth, Tommy Hutton, Preston Wilson, and Jeff Conine will be wrestling over one headset. Attack of the Analysts.
You'll be on assignment.
I will. You'll
have a game where? In Seattle?
Oakland.
In Oakland.
Against Seattle. I get a look at King Felix and a very hot and fun to watch Oakland team.
Well, we'll get a look Friday night at Jose Fernandez.
Yeah, Jake Westbrook. That's a fun matchup. The Cardinals, just as we talked about, as many people have written about, as Ken Rosenthal talked about last night, are just an amazing organization right now.
Yeah, I think the point that Ken made, the way they've developed their organization, it doesn't matter who the manager is, doesn't matter who the pitching coach is, the general manager, it stays the same, and they keep things constant, and they've drafted well, obviously. They've got a lot of homegrown players.
Ed Lucas takes a breaking ball, and Alfredo Figueroa right now looks like Adam Wainwright, if you want to go that way.
Yeah, the Marlins miss Wainwright and Shelby Miller, by the way. That's just a perfect pitch. That's one of those almost unhittable pitches.
Box Tracks brought to you by Checkers tonight.
You mentioned, Rich, Figueroa. He had 3 starts in a stint with Detroit in 2009. He had a start with them in 2010.
Stanton, a sharp ground ball. Ramirez loads up across the diamond in time. And Stanton is out number 2.
And a couple of starts with the Brewers. Now, as a starter, his ERA is over 7. He's 1-3 with an ERA over 7. Doesn't look like that tonight, but he's pitched a little bit better out of the bullpen in his young career.
Breaking ball, a strike to Ozuna.
All of a sudden, it looks like Figueroa getting command of that breaking ball. Another one.
Mentioned that Figueroa pitched for 2 years in Oryx. They are the Blue Wave. And I had to check because with Nippon Ham Fighters, I wanted to make sure there's nothing to do with, it's not the Wave and it's Oryx Blue. It is Oryx, and then they are the Blue Wave. Chopper to third, Ramirez. That's another 9-pitch inning. Figueroa's been outstanding tonight for the Brewers, who lead it 5-0. Major League leaders. Gene Segura come on in. Marco Scutaro was hurt last night, got hit by a pitch, bad finger. We'll see Matt Carpenter on Friday, and of course, Miggy.
Yeah, the Marlins will see Matt Carpenter, Matt Holliday, and Matt Adams.
A lot of Matts. I believe the Cardinals do lead the National League in Matts.
But they are no doormat,
No.
for sure.
Gomez, Aramis, Ramirez, Jonathan Lucroy. This has been a troublesome trio for Kevin Slowey. Starting with Gomez, who has 2 hits, has scored a run. Ramirez, who's been hit by a pitch and has singled. And Lucroy, who cleared the bases with a 3-run triple in the first. Slowey dots the corner for a strike.
Well, to the credit of Kevin Slowey, he's professionally doing his job. Did his job in New York out of the bullpen on a day that he wasn't a starting pitcher and pitched 7 shutout innings, and he's doing his job working on a little shorter rest here tonight.
And Gomez again has a hit. This one's in the corner in trouble. Gomez can really run. He's thinking 3 around second. My goodness. Another triple for the Brewers.
28 triples.
And Gomez has 7 of them. And that is above and beyond anybody else in the major leagues.
Boy, that's just some good hitting, and he's had quite a night. 3 for 3. Just keeps it fair. And he runs so well once it gets into that area. He's thinking about 3 all the way.
You know, I talked about Segura, and you can write his name in for the All-Star game in New York. I think you could say the same about Gomez, the type of year that he's having right now. A great look in the super slow-mo.
We've seen some good pop-up slides from Gomez in this series. That time he decided, yeah, it might be a little closer. I better get down, give it a head-first slide.
He's second in the National League in extra base hits with 33.
The Brewers have 30 hits in this series, Rich, in 22 innings.
And the other thing that's impressive, Gomez slugging percentage, 3rd in the National League, behind Troy Tulowitzki and Cargo. Ramirez swings and misses. And so Slowey gets an out. Now he's got Jonathan Lucroy to deal with. FP&L scores from around the league. Reds win in Chicago. Padres hang on to beat Atlanta. Right now, New York leads St. Louis in the top of the 4th. Pittsburgh is on a terrific run right now. The Pirates just a half game. Actually, they're right on the tail of both St. Louis and Cincinnati. Washington, Colorado later on tonight. Lucroy cuts at a high fastball.
Lucroy with 6 RBIs in this series. He had a couple on Monday night, 1 last night, 3 so far tonight. They had a rare phenomenon in Chicago today. The Cubs played that game at Wrigley against the Reds. The Blue Jays were over on the south side, played the White Sox, and they got postponed.
Well, the other night we saw when they had that heavy fog in New York, the game at Wrigley was played, but they delayed the game on the south side. "90 feet away is Carlos Gomez. Jonathan Lucroy against Kevin Slowey with 1 out, the infield in. And that is going to get the run home and maybe more. Ozuna to the track, and he makes the catch. I'll tell you what about Milwaukee. Not only are they explosive, but they are efficient. They had a squeeze bunt for a run last night. They've got sacrifice flies, a couple of them in this ball game. They take the extra base. That's the Ron Renicky influence on him.
We've seen some hitters move runners with a man at second.
They steal bases. They've got a lot of team speed. There's a lot to like offensively about a team that's playing without one of the most dynamic offensive players in the game in Ryan Braun, and another nice piece in Corey Hart.
Yeah, Ryan Braun on the year hitting .304, 9 home runs himself with 36 RBIs. And Corey Hart, guy who hit 30 home runs last year.
Schaefer fouls it back and out of play. Now Logan Schaefer getting the time in left field while Braun is out. Has had a nice run. His average over 380 last 10 games. Ozuna races on and makes the catch. Another RBI for Jonathan Lucroy, and another run for the Brewers.
Por SAP.
All right, hit the SAP button and magically they appear. Joe and Cookie. Hello, guys.
Hi, Tommy. Hi, Richie. How you guys doing?
How you guys doing?
We're doing well. Cookie, before we get the inning underway, what are your observations so far in a couple of games, 2.5 games, of Gene Segura, the young shortstop?
Well, I think they have two outstanding players, not only Segura, but also Gomez in center field. Segura is outstanding player right now, what he has shown, power, range, arm, everything that you can ask of a shortstop. So he's going to be playing in the big leagues for a long, long time.
Now, did you get a scouting report from your son Victor, because he was with the Angels organization when they traded to get Greinke?
Well, I'm telling you that we should have listened to him, you know, if we could have gotten him, you know, but those things don't work out that way.
He's got a lot of power for a shortstop.
Oh, yeah.
Derek Dietrich is up. Dietrich to be followed by Greg Dobbs and Adeiny Echeverria. Alfredo Figueroa looks like he's been in the rotation all year long, but this is just his third start. He's been outstanding.
Sure is, and the only problem with him in the past has been his control. You know, if he can dominate that 96, 97 fastball and that slider that he has, I think he'd be all right.
Dietrich lowers the boom, but the park will hold it. Gomez saunters back and makes the catch. So an out here in the 5th. All right, guys, have a good show tonight.
All right, Richie.
All right, you do the same.
All right,
Stay
Tommy.
dry.
All right, take care.
And we got to score some runs.
Cardinal series starts on Friday, 6:30. Marlins live. Here's Greg Dobbs. Adeiny Echeverria will follow.
Well, I think they're still trying to pull bodies off in that Dodger Diamondback game last night. Bodies were flying everywhere.
Yeah, that was obviously has been the talk of baseball. And one of the most interesting twists, and we talked about it in a different sense, is you have two veteran coaching staffs made up of really good major league players in their time, and those guys were all seemingly involved in.
Yeah, they were in on it. Yeah,
because most of those guys are old school guys.
Hey, Gibson and Mattingly and
McGuire,
Matt Williams, Davey Lopes, Trammell. Well, the Marlins head to Arizona after the weekend series against the Cardinals. We'll have to get some insight from Bob Brenly, TV analyst for the Diamondbacks.
Here's the 0-2. Remember last night on email Twitter Tuesday, we had the youngster, the 14-year-old, who sent us a note. His father told him that it's never okay to throw at a player, and we answered the question. And as you pointed out, you could shuffle a guy's feet, but especially last night, I think the thing that has alarmed everyone are the balls that were thrown at guys' heads.
Yeah, Puig got one thrown at his head, and then Ian Kennedy threw one at the head of Greinke.
One-two breaking ball. Dobbs rolls it on the ground to Jeanette. All right, if you've been in a hole and haven't seen any of it, this was the scene last night. That actually hit his shoulder and then glanced off his nose. That was the retaliation.
Looking at hit in the nose. Wanted this team. That's how
and then Greinke got one from Kennedy.
Presumably the Stippers.
And then you had the veteran coaches mixed in with McGuire and Gibson going jaw to jaw.
You know, actually the Greinke pitch that hit Montero, that's okay. I mean, that was up around the shoulders and the chest area, but the one that Kennedy threw to Greinke was right at the noggin.
Echeverria. Breaking ball misses outside.
And Greinke, having spent time with a broken collarbone earlier in the year, just kind of stood at home plate. The last thing he wanted to do was go out and throw a punch.
Oh, no kidding. And get in the middle of it again. Now, Puig has been scratched from the lineup tonight with a sore shoulder. Massive suspensions are coming for both teams. 2 outs, 2-1 to Echeverria. And he sends a liner, Gomez, into the gap, and he makes the catch. Figueroa has retired 14 straight. with Craig Minervini.
Hey guys, I want to ask you a question. You know, earlier I did that story with the red seat as the Marlins used it as a defensive positioning for the first baseman. I was not aware, I wonder if you guys were, that there's another colored seat beside blue here in the ballpark. Are you guys aware of that?
I was not, but I can see it.
I see a green one
You
right
see,
down in front of you.
someone told me there's a green seat. I said, no, there's not. I thought for sure we would know it, but here it is. It's over here in section 30, and this was the last seat put in here at the ballpark. It's seat number 24 in row number 8 here in section 30, and they put this in. It took about 3 months to put the near 37,000 seats in this ballpark in. They started with red over there. It's actually in the blue color scheme where the red is, with the seats being blue. They obviously wanted it to stand out, so they made it red. But over here, this is the green color scheme of the ballpark, so that's why the seat is in the green color. It stands out, and this was the last one put in. I think there's a little over 36,740 seats here at the ballpark. I did not know that. Back to you guys.
Huh. Now we know. Edgar almost comes into the ball game, takes over for Kevin SLOWEY. Rough night for SLOWEY. 5 innings, 9 hits, 6 runs, 5 of them earned. He didn't walk anybody, and he struck out 6, but he gave up some big hits. The homer to Segura, a pair of triples, and almost the rookie enters to face Juan Francisco. Liner to left. Pierre in his tracks makes the catch.
Well, it's an opportunity for the young lefty to get some work. We've seen him in various situations come on and, for the most part, been in the strike zone with some pretty good stuff.
Scooter Jeanette. Now, if you were with us last night, we were able to tell you how Scooter got his nickname. He was 4. He would not wear his seat belt, didn't want his car seat buckled, and so his mom, trying to teach him a lesson, took him to a nearby police station and hauled him in there and told the officer to arrest him. Wink, wink. And the officer played along, and in order to do that, he had to ask the youngster his name. And he got Scooter from his favorite show, The Muppet Show. Scooter, one of the characters, and so he said Scooter.
Yeah, you think about that story. That's some innovative parenting and some quick thinking on Scooter's part.
That's right. And another product of Sarasota High School. Ian Desmond, of course.
There were some other names. You came up with some pretty good names that went to Sarasota High School, along with Ian Desmond, Bobby C. Say, left-hander.
I did, and good thing I bookmarked the site.
You mean you didn't commit the names to memory?
I did not.
In the meantime, a couple of quick outs. Edgar Olmos has recorded.
Well, I know one of them is Casey Kelly.
Casey Kelly,
who was a top pick of the Red Sox, had arm surgery in the Padres organization now, and hopefully he's healthy and is able to get to the big leagues. Got some other guys. James Hauser, Bobby Say, as you mentioned. Derek Lilliquist out of Sarasota High School.
A little earlier class.
Yeah,
but some of those guys. We'll see him this weekend, pitching coach with the Cardinals.
Ground ball first. Dobbs lunges, throws, and almost can't get there in time. Safe at first is Figaro. How quickly did Figaro get down the line?
I mean, everybody runs on this Milwaukee team. Even the pitcher.
It's his second infield hit.
This is a great play by Greg Dobbs to get to this ball. Let's see how. See, almost it's tough for him. He's a big, lanky left-hander. Falls off a little bit to the third base side, so it's much harder for him to get over there. And to get over there quickly, especially when you have a runner going up there like Figaro.
Now, Figaro really got down the line.
Good job by Olmos, who kind of went down into that slide after he got the bag. He appears to be okay. Sean Cunningham, Marlins athletic trainer, out there to check in with Brett.
Geez, look at Figueroa. Does not look like a pitcher. He looks like a speedy center fielder going down the line.
He himself has 2 base hits. He's allowed 1 base hit. He had Lucas single.
And here is Norichika Aoki. And a strike to Aoki. Nori Aoki was a pitcher in college and a terrific run with the Yakult Swallows. Won a batting title 3 times. As we noted the other night, he's the only hitter in history in Japanese professional baseball to have 2 200 hit seasons.
He's Rookie of the Year in Japan in 05.
And I didn't believe that stat when I read it because I thought Ichiro had to have done it, but Ichiro did it just once. He rolls one up the middle. That's into center field. Aoki has his 2nd hit. And the Brewers just keep swinging. You watch this Milwaukee team and you wonder how in the world are they 12 games under right now? As good as they are offensively, and then you look at their team ERA, it's last in the league. If they get Narveson back, if they get Estrada back, and they get some sort of pitching, you would think they'd be able to at least get back to 500.
And hang in there with teams like the Pirates, like the Reds.
Pirates and the Reds both having very good seasons right now. Here's Segura.
The bottom line, though, they've certainly been impressive in this 3-game series.
You know, the one story that got lost last night with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks brawl was that Major League Baseball yesterday announced that they would open next year in Australia.
The Dodgers and Diamondbacks.
Yes. How about that? I mean, that'll add a little spice to the fabled Sydney Cricket Ground, which is where they're going to play.
Boy, that's a long trip.
It is, and I think they will do it just like when Oakland and Seattle opened in Japan. They'll go and play those games. They'll play some exhibition games while there. Then they'll play 2 games that count, and then they'll come back to spring training, play some more spring training games before easing back into the rest of their schedule.
And acclimate themselves to the proper time zone.
They do have to transform the cricket grounds into a major league field. Major League Baseball has played official games in Japan and Mexico. And of course, Puerto Rico is part of the United States, so. (3-1). And Gene Segura walks.
Well, all of a sudden, after getting the first 2 outs, that infield hit by the pitcher Figueroa, base hit by Aoki, now walk, and almost dealing with a bases loaded 2-out situation.
Chuck Hernandez watching his rookie pitcher load him, and now he has to face the man that has 3 hits, Carlos Gomez, 6 hits in the series.
I remember in Philadelphia, it was John Mayberry Jr. who hit a grand slam against Ole Miss. They were all unearned runs because of an error.
To right, that one's well hit. Stanton goes back, and that's over his head. That's going to cause damage. Scoring is Figueroa. Scoring is Aoki. Scoring is Segura. It's another triple, and the ball bounces into the seats. Gomez will score. And a messy night just got messier for Miami. Gomez with his second straight triple. The Brewers, who lead all the baseball in triples, have 3 of them tonight.
What had been a little ugly has gotten uglier. A little mishandled, not too much. Ball bouncing around in right field. I think it'll still be a triple. And then the relay throw gets away. Almost was over there. It's just a tough play to back up. You do your best to get behind where you think the throw's coming. And once the throws skip by, that allowed Gomez to come in and score.
Milwaukee has had a pair of bases loaded triples. So one night after a real feel-good win for Miami, it's 10-0 Brewers. And here is Ramirez. A dozen hits, 10 runs, 2 Miami errors. Say this about the Brewers: they don't waste base runners. They've left only 3, and they've scored 10. Lucas crossed the diamond in time, and the Brewers put 4 big ones up on the board in the 6th. 10-0 Milwaukee. Freeze Cam is brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Gene Segura, shortstop, Milwaukee Brewers. Get to know him. He's only 23, and he's really, really good.
Yeah, it's been a great opportunity to see a young kid that we've heard a lot about, read a lot about, seen some highlights of him. But up close and personal, he's been impressive.
Jeff Bianchi is at third base. So he comes in for Aramis Ramirez in a game that has gotten away from the fish. Rob Brantley takes outside from Alfredo Figaro. Lucroy out from behind the plate makes a nice play.
You heard Luke Roy making the call, too. As soon as that ball trickled out in the dirt, he wanted to let his pitcher know that he had it, and he let him know right away.
Miguel Olivo will pinch hit here for Olmos in the 6th. Alfredo Figueroa has given up just 1 hit, and that was an Ed Lucas single in the 1st.
Well, by far his best start as a major leaguer. And that's only been 6 previous starts. And having not seen any of those, I guarantee it's the best command he's had of that curveball. We heard so much about the fastball, but he's been able to throw them both for strikes. He's mixed in an occasional changeup.
One pitch is fouled back and out of play. Has not had a stressful inning. He's out in front of Olivo, 1-2. And he gets him. Lucroy has to throw him out. And Figueroa with another strikeout.
16 in a row he's retired. Well, the longest he's ever gone as a starting pitcher was 6 innings. That was a few years ago.
Here's Pierre now. He's bounced out and was out trying to bunt for a hit. 4 strikeouts for Figueroa. This was a Kevin Slowey start, and he lasted 5. 6 runs, 5 of them earned. Of the 4 runs that Edgar almost gave up in the 6th, 3 of those are earned. Ball and a strike. Little tapper. Scooter Jeanette on to first in time. And Alfredo Figueroa has been dominant tonight for the Brewers. Any Wednesday Marlins home game, you can save up to 60% with the Chevron Crazy 8 ticket offer. Fill up at a participating Chevron to get $8 home run porch or $18 home plate box tickets. Visit your local Chevron or marlins.com/Chevron for details. Restrictions apply. So Ron Renicky adjusting his lineup card And the number on Renick's jersey, number 10, that's the magical number. It's a 10-0 lead for the Brewers. So
what does that mean, Rich?
That means the 10-run reel is in the offing. The crack staff right now is scrambling. They have lost the code to unlock the secret case, which carries the 10-run reel. And of course, the other day we're promoting the Manny Ramirez home run and the call by the Taiwanese announcer of said Manny Ramirez home run and how outstanding it was. And rumors are down in the production area that has been added to the 10-run reel. So
possibly put in the leadoff spot.
Call the kids, get it out on Twitter. 10-run reel, if the crack staff can remember the combination. Jonathan Lucroy is up. The 10-run reel, in case you're new to Marlins baseball or just happening by, when a team goes up 10 or down 10, we turn to some of the lighter moments that we've experienced in our broadcast career. And as always, it's all for the kids. Jennings misses inside. Dan Jennings takes over for Edgar Olmos. And here in the 7th, he's got Jonathan Lucroy, Logan Schaefer, and Juan Francisco.
And without question, it's always more fun when the Marlins are up 10.
Without a doubt. And we always enjoy it more. But, you know, a 10-run game is a 10-run game.
And we have to stick to our word.
It's a solemn promise that we made. Here's the 3-1. Echeverria gathers himself and throws out Jonathan Lucroy. Logan Schaefer, Juan Francisco. This game got away from the Marlins early. The Brewers' bats impressive. Lucroy's done a ton of damage. He's driven in 4. Carlos Gomez has 4 hits, 2 triples, 3 RBIs. Gene Segura's got a home run. Heck, Alfredo Figueroa, who's retired 17 straight, has got 2 hits himself, and he's given up just 1 hit. Or so says John Chimchuk, our baseball historian tonight.
That we spot the occasional cheesehead.
Are cheeseheads adjustable? Or are they...
I think it's one size fits all.
Does New Era make a cheesehead?
Good call. I don't know.
Here's the 0-2. The other day, we were talking about broadcasters that we grew up listening to. And the genesis of the 10-run reel was, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago during the course of one of our telecasts, and it was a 10-run game at the time.
Were we on the West Coast at the time?
We must have been. We must have been on something.
Must have been late night, yeah.
But anyways, it just occurred that, you know, when a game gets out of hand, we should have fun. And we did have some odd clips. And so we tried it a couple times, and it worked. And it reminded me, as a kid growing up, there were some terrific announcers that I had a chance to listen to. 2 of them in particular were very good in a game like this.
We were talking about one the other night, weren't we?
Well, 2 of them, actually.
Yeah.
Lon Simmons in the Hall of Fame. Hank Greenwald, who should be in the Hall of Fame.
Who I worked with 2 years doing Yankee games.
And both of those guys in a blowout game were incredibly funny. Dry senses of humor would keep you listening despite the score. Now, we're not that good, so we have to rely on fun video.
Which is probably the toughest part. Yeah, we're not. That's why we have the video. The toughest part in broadcasting, I think, a baseball game. Because we have the time in between. Hey, it's easy. When your team's winning by 3 or 4 runs, if there are 40,000 people in the stands.
Right, if your team's 20 games over.
Team's in first place. It's easy to broadcast. It's just the other ones that are a challenge.
Dan Jennings with a good live fastball and a nice.
Oh, look at that, right? Just barely able to hang on to that. Good job by Brantley, too.
Nice play by Brantley. So a strikeout for Jennings. And here's Francisco. Now we've built this all up. And the fact of the matter is, if the crack staff doesn't remember the code, then it's all hot air. It's all hot air to begin with. Little tapper, Lucas charging and throwing on the run in time. And there are 3 outs here in the 7th inning. So it's there it is. They got it. All right, 10-run reel when we get back. Hop in the Brewers bullpen, a perfect guy to lead off our 10-run reel the night we had him mic'd up in the bullpen. No respect for Hopper. And the seeds were in the back of his coat and the shaving cream on top of the cap. Hopper with the beard now. I think you have to have that beard to be in the Milwaukee bullpen. And Lucas. And he pulls one foul. 17 in a row have been retired by Alfredo Figueroa. Lucas, Giancarlo Stanton, and Marcell Ozuna here in the 7th inning.
We just want to try to break up the rhythm. The last time Figueroa had to work from the stretch was after Lucas' single in the 1st inning.
Lucas fouls that one off. Figueroa, amazingly, and here he is in the bottom of the 7th, was only at 72 pitches. Lucas got himself another hit. Solid shot into center field. So Lucas is aboard. Tommy, you know what they say in baseball. You always got to watch out for foul balls. Because you never know. Oh. Because a fan may go, oh, all over. What the? Hey, buddy.
Wow. I think I read her lips, too.
I don't think that's what she said.
Yeah.
I've forgotten about that part of the clip. Here's Stanton now. Stanton hits a shot into left field. That's a base hit. And so the Marlins have opened the 7th with a couple of hits. against Figaro. A Coors Light cold hard fact. Here it is. This season, 3 of 4 home runs have tied a game or given Miami the lead for Giancarlo Stanton. And in his career, 33 of 97 have done just that. Ozuna, Dietrich, Dobbs hoping to get their swings here.
All 4 of his home runs this year have been hit here in this ballpark, too. Giancarlo, you look at the progress he's made. He's gotten 1 hit in each game. Of course, the big one was the home run last night, but he singled his first game back, hit that ball well there for a single.
Now Ozuna, who's popped out, bounced out. Couple hits in the inning, 3 in the ball game now for Miami. A little tapper that is foul. And it counts 0-1. I'd forgotten about the lady in the stands in Wrigley. I remember the batting practice ball and the exploding nachos at Dodger Stadium.
Foul ball in, where's it, L.A.? Another one in L.A. with the gentleman holding his little girl.
And dropped her.
Yeah, he let her go to get the ball.
And he dropped the ball. And of course, it has a happy ending because Craig brought the little girl the ball. She was upset that her father dropped her, and probably a little disappointed that he dropped the ball as well. Ozuna takes outside. The Pirates are pouring it on the Giants right now, 8-4. And that ball game is headed to the 6th inning. That was a Barry Zito start after a terrific debut by Garrett Cole last night.
Yeah, the 22-year-old out of UCLA.
Jeff Conine happy to see that, a former Brewer. Nationals and Rockies are just underway and scoreless in the second. The Phils are in Minnesota and have a 2-0 lead over the Twins, bottom of the third. Games today, the Reds beat the Cubs 2-1. Aroldis Chapman picked up his 17th save. Todd Frazier homered for the Reds in that game. And the Padres hung on to beat the Braves 5-3. You know, the Padres are 2 under at 32 and 34. Bud Black has very quietly and very calmly led that ball club back to respectability.
Yeah, they're 2-3 games ahead of the Dodgers, who were in the cellar in that National League West.
Braves are 12 over at 39 and 27. Ozuna's still up there. The count is 2-2. That's a heck of a play. You talk about foul balls in the seats. Watch this play. A barehanded grab by this gentleman. A little off balance. Wow.
Oh, that's terrific. And he's not rubbing it. That thing stung, I guarantee. And he just sat down and paid no attention.
Segura, the turn by Jeanette in time to get the double play.
Well, he went back to that curveball. Got Ozuna to roll over a little bit. 6-4-3. That's what it turned into.
So if the Marlins are going to get anything out of this inning, Derek Dietrich is going to need to drive in a run or at least keep the inning going. He's 0 for 2. Dobbs to follow. Dietrich a home run last night. 10-0 Brewers in the bottom of the 7th. Ed Lucas has 2 of the 3 Miami hits. Figaro.
Broke out the changeup.
We haven't seen that pitch a
Yeah,
lot.
it was something we talked about a couple of innings ago. We've seen it a couple of times to some left-handers, but yeah, I would say I bet you he hasn't thrown 10 of them. Mostly fastballs and curveballs.
Dietrich turns on 1, and the count is 1-2. David Wright and Lucas Duda have home runs, and the Mets lead the Cardinals 4-1. That's a Dylan G start for the Mets. One, two. John Tuitu, our veteran award-winning cameraman, didn't flinch down there at third base. And that ball rocketing into the third base well. There he is.
He's numb from a lot of things, though. That's why he doesn't flinch.
Except that state-of-the-art shield,
yeah,
on top of the viewfinder. Here's the 1-2. Dietrich. It's towards the seats and into the seats. John Tuitu is as good as they get at a lot of things. And, oh, he did flinch. My mistake. One of the things that I enjoy most about John is his collection of collegiate t-shirts. He's got an Iowa football shirt on. You never know. It could be Quinnipiac wrestling, RPI hockey, Colorado School of Mines rugby. He's got Iowa. He's rocking the Hayden Fry look tonight.
Spends a lot of time on eBay.
Come on, smile for us, buddy.
Yeah, see, he's checking on a T-shirt right now.
That's right. He put a low bid on a UC Santa Barbara water polo shirt. Here's the 2-2.
I want to see him come up with a UC Davis shirt.
You've got one.
I've got one. Yeah, I do.
It's amazing what can be accomplished when nobody cares who gets the credit. Was that a Hayden Fry? Oh, Harry Truman. I bet you Hayden Fry used it, though. Three-two. This one is headed towards the seats. I'm not sure it's going to get there, though. The Yankee makes the catch. 10-run reel still in effect, and just for the kids, we miss him. Cinco de Mayo, we thought of him. Alfredo Amezaga. All yours, partner.
Well, for a team that leads the major leagues in triples, we'll show you a triple. How about Jonathan Lucroy clearing the bases with a triple early in the game? Gene Segura has been impressive in this series. His 10th home run of the year. Why not show you another triple? This one hit by Carlos Gomez over the head of Giancarlo Stanton. So 3 triples tonight for the Milwaukee Brewers. 12 base hits. They have 11 bases loaded triples this season.
Scooter Gennett.
See, I have trouble reading sometimes what our baseball historian hands me. There have been 11 bases loaded triples this year, 4 by the Brewers. That's still pretty good.
Well, and we've seen 2 of them tonight.
Yeah.
Ever since we saw the Ken Burns documentary Baseball, we have changed from employing a statistician to a baseball historian.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 2. Jeanette takes down low.
By the way, nice job by Dan Jennings last inning to have a 1-2-3 7th.
Tom Gorzolani.
And that's all you can do as a young pitcher in this situation. Go out there, try to make good pitches. You know the game's out of hand. And I think especially so for a left-hander, in the case of Jennings, to be real good against left-handed hitters. So you give your manager confidence to use you down the road against lefties.
Well, I mean, a guy like Jennings, much like a closer, needs to be used to stay sharp. So here's his opportunity to get sharp, stay sharp. We have been told that the crack staff is in the process of loading the Manny Ramirez Taiwanese home run with call. So it may take a few minutes, but hang in there, kids. It's a ground ball to third. First, Tommy, we love mascots, but sometimes mascots can interact with fans, umpires, players, and it can go horribly wrong, like in the instance of Clammy Sosa. Remember this moment in Philly?
Oh, yeah, the third base umpire.
Yeah, the ex-third base umpire. Never to be seen again. Because Clammy Sosa... And while all that happened, Miguel Olivo snuck up and stole the keys from the Fanatics mobile, or whatever you want to call that, ATV.
Ricky Weeks pinch hitting for Figueroa. So the right-hander will be out of the game. We saw Gorzolani warming up. Ricky Weeks had a big game, the first game of this series. Had 3 hits, hit a home run.
And Weeks has 4 hits in the series. Aoki in the leadoff spot is up next. As we mentioned, for the Brewers, it's an odd road trip, not in the cities, Miami, Cincinnati, and Houston, but that they have a day off between all 3 cities. Day off tomorrow. They're in Cincinnati on Friday, and then they open up interleague play or an interleague series against Houston on a Tuesday, so they have an off day on Monday.
Which will seem crazy to them because they played Houston so many times when they were in the same division. So that'll seem odd.
Although for the Brewer fan, the longtime Brewer fan, they had to live through the same thing.
That's right.
When the Brewers went from the American League to the National League. But it allows Ron Renicky to rest Ryan Braun an extra day. And like we said, if the Brewers, it sounds like, if the Brewers get 5 or 6 days into this and Braun's thumb isn't completely healed, the Brewers in all likelihood would disable him and then backdate it to the last time he appeared. And that's why those days off are helpful as well. Those are days that count on the 15-day disabled list time clock.
Corey Hart there and Braun, a couple of home run hitters.
Weeks walks. Tomorrow's pitching matchup, actually Friday night's pitching matchup, is brought to you by Chevron. Jake Westbrook, Jose Fernandez. And that's Friday night. Marlins Live starts it at 6:30.
Good matchup, a lot of sinkers. Westbrook coming off the disabled list. And always fun to watch the 20-year-old. Speaking of matchups,
Aoki rolls it. Dietrich flips.
I'll hold that thought. I'll hold, but tell me and remind me of the matchup that I have in my head.
Okay, we'll do that. 4-6-3 on the double play. To the bottom of the 8th we go in a 10-run game. Oh, it's the fastest squirrel in the world from San Diego. Can he catch his competition? Look at the tail. Oh, wow. That's fast. Clip is one of our favorite moments, fun moments in Marlins history. It's Baltimore, it's extra innings, and the Orioles are trying to intentionally walk Miguel Cabrera.
But he had an opportunity to get a ball.
Whoa, he hits the ball to center field. Here comes.
Oh, it never gets old.
Opportunity to get a ball.
Whoa, he hits it up the right third. Coming to the plate. Here's the throw. He scores.
And the Marlins would win that game. That would be the game-winning run. The story, as Gorzalani comes in, the Marlins actually tied that game in the 9th, down by 2, with back-to-back home runs by Joe Borchard and Wes Helms in Baltimore. And then Cabrera on that attempted intentional walk drove in the game winner.
And Miggy has never stopped. Still continues to hit.
Here's Dobbs now. Dobbs goes after the first pitch, drives that in the gap, left center. Schaefer's over, and he makes the catch. Gorzalani throws one pitch and gets one out. We use it every night in the booth. You can as well. MLB.com @bat, #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. iPhone, iPad, Android, BlackBerry 10. @bat delivers Marlins baseball and all Major League Baseball with live audio, live video, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, cool stuff, weird sounds. Text @bat to 31826 or go to Marlins.com for details. It is a 10-run lead for the Brewers. 10-0. Adeiny Echeverria is up. track staff efforting right now to bring you the best of what you haven't seen in a while, the 10-run reel. Gorzalani taking over for Alfredo Figueroa. Figueroa, aside from this big night offensively, a nice story for Milwaukee. 7 innings, 3 hits, 4 strikeouts. And he retired 17 Marlins in a row at one point.
Anytime they can get an outing like that from a starter, that's certainly a good story, because that's, as we've pointed out in this series, that's where they really have struggled. So Rick Kranitz has to feel pretty good about that.
One of the good guys in the game. That's a smash that Segura spears. Echeverria barreled it up. Our Toyota trend. Brewers, Marlins. Tommy talked about the all-time series and how close it is. The Marlins, should they lose this game, will lose their lead, and it'll be all tied at 56 apiece. That's our Toyota trend. Here's Brantley. Breaking ball for a strike.
Marlins have been a little bit better here in the month of June. A loss tonight, they'll be 5-5 in the month.
Scooter Gennett makes the play. 10-0 Brewers. Look, Tommy, a monkey. Night where the praying mantis paid a visit on the Marlins dugout, and he sat on Clay Hensley's hat for about an inning, and then finally got up on the rail. Hensley didn't like it, and then he went down and he greeted every Marlins player. But he said hi to Eduardo Perez. Hello, Honeyball. He took a particular liking to Logan Morrison.
You know, Lomo took a liking to him until he jumped on his shoulder.
And the best part was watching Gabby Sanchez laugh in the background, and Morrison just pleading with his teammates to get him off me.
Well, that's it.
And
a little fun in the dugout.
And there's Jack.
Jack, he's going, what's going on? A little fun in the dugout, Nationals Park.
Dubbed Mickey Mantis by the viewers that night. AJ Ramos is in. Ramos takes over. The Brewers have banged out a dozen hits. They have 10 runs. Gene Segura has done damage with a solo homer, his 10th of the season. That one's fouled back by Segura. Marlins and Cardinals on Friday night. The Hopper. The Hopper.
You know, the other thing about you get in conversations, and it's the old get deep into count, swing at first pitches, be free swingers. The Milwaukee Brewers are free swingers. Trust me. Segura jumps in, swings at everything. Gomez, a free swinger. They're good hitters, though. Gomez has walked 11 times. Has been up over 230 times. Segura, talked about it the other night, 11 walks on the year.
Stanton makes the catch. That's an easy segue now to the AT&T Rewind. It's a tradition in Cincinnati. Stanton involved again with A.J. Ramos, Alex Sanabria, and last, Ricky Nolasco. That favorite shop down from the hotel, the Electric Suit Shop. Stanton going with the purple and orange. That was a tradition started, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, I don't think they could find any red-orange at the shop.
That one gets through Ramos. Dietrich, though, hustling, makes a terrific play. Out by the bag at second. And that gets Carlos Gomez, which is not easy to do.
Well, again, first pitch swinging. That's the way he hits. That's the way he rolls, Rich. And he's rolled to a 4-hit night. That's the only time the Marlins have gotten him out tonight. Back-to-back triples. He's had 4 hits, 3 RBIs. So a good play by Dietrich, though, because he knew Gomez was getting out of the box in a hurry.
Dietrich has been impressive in the field. I'm a guy that was a shortstop at Georgia Tech, and whenever Perry Hill takes a liking to you, that says a lot.
Lucroy has driven in 4 tonight.
And Lucroy with the 3-run triple. The Yankee hitting for Ramirez. And Stanton makes the catch. All right, little 10-run reel fun with Craig Minervini. Waltz, Tommy Hutton, Craig Minervini. Jeff Conine will be joining Craig for Marlins Live. our Avis super slow-mo play of the night. Watch this. One-hand grab by a fan. He just swallowed that thing up in that left hand. Unieski Betancourt makes a special guest appearance. And you got to love the hopper, Bert Badenhop, here at Marlins Park. Last year, of course, he was here with the Tampa Bay Rays. The hopper comes in now, and his job is to preserve a shutout. And that's not something the Milwaukee Brewers have been able to do this year. They're the only team in Major League Baseball that does not have a shutout. Justin Ruggiano gets the AB, and Badenhop misses outside.
Pretty good numbers this year for the hopper, giving up fewer hits, 22 hits in 28 in the third innings.
Let's check in with one of the three tenors, Craig Minervini. Hi, Craig.
There we go. Forgot about that clip, Rich. Hey, I talked to the hopper the other day, and first of all, he wanted to say hi to all his Marlin friends and family down here. He said really the Marlins experience kind of put him on the map in terms of pitching, but coming over here now as a visitor, he said he could not believe the Marlins bullpen stayed that way all year. He figured after a few games there you'd want to move. He said the music it's not the dancing girls or the scene there, it's the music that really gets to you. He said after a couple of days you're kind of going bonkers out there as a group. And he also said that when I asked him how many times do you tell people, hey, I was traded for Miguel Cabrera, kind of laughed about that. He says yes, he does use that, but he says normally I just tell him I went for Dontrelle Willis. A little more of a fair deal. But he's a good guy, good to catch up with the hopper. Still going strong. Back to you guys.
And Craig, no one has been able to stump the hopper.
No.
That was one of the great
He's
game
the best.
show features that you had on a Marlins pregame show was Stump the Hopper. Ruggiano singles into center field. Craig will be back with Jeff Conine, and we are happy to report that the crack staff has been efforting all night, and that the Manny Ramirez home run with the Taiwanese home run call that you just absolutely have to hear, we will have it in our last game segment right before the postgame show. So you kids that have hung in with us through this 10-run Milwaukee lead, you have a little treat at the end of the night. And that's coming up. We'll take a break after the game is over, sum up the night, and give you a little treat before we send you to Marlins Live.
Well, I give a lot of credit to Justin Ruggiano to hang in there with all of us and hang in there with the lack of playing time lately because of the way things have worked out and going up and having a good at-bat in a base hit.
Now Pierre cracks one into left field. Ruggiano to second.
That'll keep the hitting streak alive. 9 straight for JP.
Poll question tonight. Let's answer it. It's brought to you by AT&T Uverse. Should postgame pies and water drenching be discouraged? Fans say no. Have fun. Have at it. Just don't jump in the air and do a pirouette. Hashtag have fun. That one vote apparently came from, I think it's at Allison Williams in at Allison W Sports. Ed Lucas has had a nice night tonight. He's 2 for 3. But with the injury to Chris Coughlin being a little more severe than anticipated, it sounds like it'll be a little more than 15 days. Ed Lucas's spot on the ball club becomes a little more important because remember the Marlins had brought Coughlin in and started to take ground balls at third base in hopes to get a little pop out of the third base spot. Placido Polanco has struggled mightily offensively this year. Lucas shoots a ground ball. It kicks off of Bianchi's leg. Out at second is Pierre. Lucas is safe at first. Bianchi will not be charged for an error. It's a fielder's choice.
Well, he was thinking double play, so were the Brewers, but once Bianchi bobbled, he's lucky he got JP at second base. Very close play. And he got him. Just the toe of Scooter Gennett was on the bag.
Now Stanton, who was lined out, bounced out, and singled. Badenhop, who throws that heavy two-seamer and can be a ground ball machine. He's perfect in the National League Central because you got that thick infield grass in every ballpark. And of course, Hopper had a big moment with the bat in New York.
Yeah, he did. Let's see if Stanton can continue on with a good approach. He's had a good approach tonight. Translated in a base hit his last time up. He lined out center field his first time up.
Badenhop misses outside. Stanton's homer last night, the first homer that Jim Henderson had given up all season long, the game winner. Tonight, this one never in doubt. Milwaukee out of the chutes early with a bunch of runs. The out at second was recorded. It was on the transfer. Francisco's feed. Betancourt dropped it. And so the Brewers get an out. And it's 10-1. Miami finally gets a run. Ruggiano comes across.
Well, Francisco way off the bag. The only play he has, and you were just thinking, I was anyway, with Stanton hitting that ball. Don't worry about a double play. Don't try to stretch it, extend it. Just run under control. Keep that hamstring healthy. But in the meantime, Betancourt bobbled, and Ruggiano scored.
Here is Ozuna. Again, for those of you that have been with us tonight on the 10-run reel, a special treat, the Manny Ramirez home run with the Taiwanese call. And we'll have that for you coming back after our game break just before Marlins Live. Just for the kids that have stayed up and hung with us in what was a 10-run game most of the night. It's all for the kids, Tommy.
And we appreciate you hanging with us.
All right, there's the out at second base. The Brewers take the series 2-3. Bert Badenhop finishes things for Milwaukee. 10-1 the final. Stick around, kids, for Marlins Live and that special treat.